Barbershop here on CobrasandAction.org and the Black Talk Radio Network, exposing racism, white supremacy for exactly what it is, so that you and your loved ones can navigate this stinking, nasty, wretched, disgusting system. The purpose of this podcast is to eliminate all confusion in regards to racism and what it is, so that those who are classified as black are no longer confused. We broadcast weekly, Wednesday and Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on CobrasandAction.org and the Black Talk Radio Network. Inform any black person you think that may be remotely interested in countering racism of what we're doing. Spread the word. We find this show to be necessary because before a problem can be solved, it has to be identified and understood. And too many black people do not understand racism. Visit us at CobrasandAction.org, a website dedicated to countering racism and replacing it with justice. Because too many black people remain confused about racism, we created this site. Not only do we articulate precisely what racism is, what racism is, but we also give specifics on how to counter it. Click on the menu tab and listen to archives of the Barbershop. Read articles on racism and strategies and tactics on how to counter racism. And listen to the radio network, Cobra Radio, the most dangerous radio network in the world. Everything is counter racism. There ain't no black men killing each other. Our women are respected. And we call white people out on their bullshit because all of them, every white person, your white wife, your white husband, your white best friend, your white pastor, your white supervisor, your white teacher, the one that's supposed to be so cool, they're all racist. That's right. Your problem is white people. And we don't have any problem reminding the confused black people, yes, you, of this fact. Make sure you visit the site. And once you're on the site, please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and SoundCloud. We're always publishing content to all of our social media sites, articles, videos, and music. So please follow. We need your support. Running the website and radio station is not free and takes a lot of man hours. If you find what we're doing constructive in the least bit, we ask that you donate so that we can keep this effort going. We ask for $5 a month, but obviously whatever you can afford to give is much appreciated. Just click on the menu tab and click donations. Again, the work we put in is equivalent to any 9-to-5 office job, except our aim is not to profit with some product or service, but to help black people solve our biggest problem, white supremacy. I will be doing a special Christmas broadcast at 11 o'clock a.m. on December 25th. I'm going to be discussing music and religion in the system of racism, white supremacy, followed by a 1-hour discussion on Facebook, a 1-hour chat, if you will. The holiday is no excuse to take off from the work that needs to be done. So I urge you to join me this Christmas, beginning at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is our 9th podcast in the series titled Understanding Racism, White Supremacy, in which we aim to show how racism is present 24 hours, 7 days a week in all non-white people's lives. Today, I will be speaking on activism in the system of racism, white supremacy. Being brutally honest, the only activist that really had some kind of an understanding as to how to get tangible, long-lasting results of any kind of benefit to those classified as black was Dr. Martin Luther King. There have been many people that have talked about racism and talked about it well. But looking at our attempts at trying to solve this problem, I have to say the effort has been terribly disastrous and indicates, at least thus far, that most of us have no clue as to what actually needs to be done to solve this problem. So we're going to take a look at Black activists and the concept of activism, and we're going to determine if activism is the answer to solving our problem. Before we take our break, I just want to say one thing. I think it's very, very important to reiterate this point that I'm about to say as many times as possible. That is, as a Black person, I don't care what part of the world you're in, as a Black person, your problem is white people. I can't be any more clearer, any more precise than that. Your problem is white people. I mentioned earlier on, all of them are racist. All of them believe that they are superior. That is why they act the way they do. All of them contribute to your mistreatment. You see, anytime a white person takes a check from the job in which they are employed, they are contributing to your problem. White people, hands down, are paid more than Black people. They are able to find employment much easier than Black people because their system is designed that way. And to any extent a white person participates in that, they are mistreating you. Anytime a white person goes and votes, they are voting at your expense. I don't care if they're voting Republican, Democrat, Independent. It does not matter. They are voting. They are giving a yes. They are giving a wink and nod to the system that mistreats you, regardless of what candidate, what party is in office and or has power at the time. Racism is white supremacy. Period. Your problem as a Black person is white people. I don't care how much singing you do. I don't care how much dancing you do. I don't care. Oh, I'm going to explain my problem to white people in such an articulate way and they will understand and they will feel my pain. I don't care. I don't care how much of that you do. At the end of the day, 500 plus years of history has shown us white people are interested in controlling. Period. They don't care about you singing songs. They don't care about you jumping, hopscotching, skipping, flipping, rapping, articulating your problem. They know that you are suffering. They know that. Fool. And you sitting here, Mary J. Blige, sitting in front of Hillary Clinton singing that song, talking about some American black skin. Get the hell out of here with that crap. And Hillary Clinton was looking, okay, get this nigger out of my face. The 411 with Mary J. Blige, a big joke, big ass joke. Mary J. Blige, victim of racism, white supremacy, is not to be ridiculed or made fun of. She is confused, just as we all are, including your host. I am still learning. I learn every day. That's why when white people speak, I keep my mouth closed. I do not argue with white people anymore because it is fruitless. And by arguing with white people, it just shows you do not understand the problem. White people are the way they are, and black people need to understand what that is. White people are about controlling. Period. So start there. Any kind of effort you want to undertake in solving this problem, Start there. White people are about controlling. They are about dominating. There can be no working with white people. The only thing you can do is counter politically, economically, militarily, white people. That's all you can do. Treat them in a humane way, obviously. White people are people, just like you. And they are deserving of basic respects. Respect what we would call human rights. Okay, I don't like that term human because you know how I feel about that. I don't think any of us are humans, for we're not acting humane. However, for the sake of my bigger point, you treat white people as humans. White people are not devils. They are not aliens. They are not of some unworldly form. You see, I've heard black people speak of white people as devils or as aliens or as something not human. This is ignorant. White people are human. All right. And there is no getting rid of white people. You're not going to get some spaceship or something and go to Mars and run away from white people. You're not going to be able to get a ship and go to the moon just to get away from white people. So you better get comfortable with the fact that white people are here to stay. And at the end of the day, the most ironic thing is that we all come from the same place. That's what's really ironic about everything in this world going on. Everything is determined by race. However, it's not even real. It's a false narrative. It was a false social construct, but perception is reality. And so even though there's no scientific basis in racism, people have bought into it. And it's one of those things where perception becomes reality. So in most people's minds, unfortunately, it's valid to separate human beings by so-called race, something that really doesn't even exist. Don't get caught up on that fact, however, because it does exist, because people's perceptions say that it does. So you need to operate within the context that it does, because it is affecting your life. White people are racist. I've asked you this before. What does it mean to be white? I look at a chalkboard. I look at at one of those whiteboards in the classroom. That is white. I am looking at my word processor right now on my computer screen. The screen, the document is completely white. I do not have any words on the document. I have never seen a so-called white person this color. So what does white mean? Start there. Don't take what I'm saying as the gospel truth. Use your own logic. So if white people are not actually white, just as you are not actually black, I'm sure many people listening to this broadcast come in all types of variety of colors, shades, caramel, black, chocolate, dark brown, what we would call light skin, many different shades. But yet you're called black. What does that mean? You are black because you are not white. White people call themselves white to distinguish themselves from you, but more importantly, to distinguish themselves from those that can and that shall be mistreated. Oh, and by the way, white people are not supposed to be mistreated. They are supposed to be the ones doing the mistreating. Look at the history of the term white being used within the context of race. And then you will begin to understand the logic I am using when I say that all white people are racist. Every last one of them. And if you are not approaching your problem, white people, within this context, your train will derail at some point down the tracks. No matter how great your effort is, no matter how much on point you are with your solution or solutions, if you do not understand that white people is your problem, you will fail. And I believe this is a lot of what I will be hitting on today as we proceed forward talking about activism. But black people do not understand their problem. There are too many people that are talking. Well, this is the problem. We need to do this. We need to do that. And it's not, people are not being accurate. People are confusing. Black people are just confused. You know, some black people think, oh, well, you know, we have to depend on religion. We have to submit ourselves completely to religion. Put it in God's hands. This is an excuse to be cowardly. The black church are just a bunch of black cowards. The only kind of real mechanism we have in the community that has shown any kind of ability to organize on a massive level has been the black church. What are they organizing for? They take your money. What are they using that money for? Sure, they have all types of dinners and picnics and speakers come to speak to you. What are they speaking about? And then they have national candidates. Hell, sometimes, a lot of times, even local candidates from both parties. Oh, so they're fair institution. Oh, okay, great. And they come and they speak to you. Okay. They encourage you to vote. And they encourage you to continue paying every Sunday to hear people speak. Speak about what? Why are black people so confused? What are black people listening to when they're at the church? A whole bunch of singing, a whole bunch of dancing, a whole bunch of, oh, we're going to put it in God's hands. This is cowardly. You know what you have to do. You know, white people, all of them collectively are kicking our ass. Period. And deep down, black people know that singing some songs, humming some hymns, it doesn't matter. It's not going to do anything. You know you have to confront the bully. You know this. I'm not saying anything that you don't know. No singing, no dancing, no flipping, no crying. I'm seeing a lot of black people crying about their problem and pleading, I can't feed my kids and I can't find a job. And they know that. They know that. So we don't need you getting on MSNBC pleading your case. Oh, please crack up. Please crack up. Help me. Help this poor black wretched human being, the poor black wretched human being that I am. Please help me. Please help this black soul. Because I need help. And then you have your hand all reaching out for white people to just pull you up. Well, guess what? They ain't gonna pull you up because they don't like you, because white people want to control. That's all they care about. They can't stand black people. And their actions show this. The black church, black cowards. Because this is the only mechanism in the black community that has shown black community. I hate saying that. We don't have no community. This is the only institution, and I use that word loosely, that has shown any kind of ability to organize black people. What is the end of the black church? What has the end of the black church been? You see, because I don't see black churches taking that money that you're giving them and teaching black boys, many of them unemployed, self-respect, teaching them how to shoot, teaching them how to protect their neighborhoods. I don't see that going on. But if we're trying to solve this problem, deep down, you know that is what needs to go on. Black people, all of black people's security depends on crackers. Get the hell out of here with that. What kind of sense does that make? The people that's smacking you around, punching you, shooting your mother in the street, shooting your wife in the street, shooting your daughter in the street. These are the people that you run to scared when you have some kind of a threatening issue. These are the people you are depending on to protect you. Signs of a cowardly, lazy people. I don't see the churches doing anything to rectify this problem. And yes, I put it on the church. Why? Because that's the only institution that black people are collectively funding. So if black people are collectively funding this institution, it is their duty to do what's in the interest of black people. I don't see black teenagers and black young adults, men and women. I don't see them learning how. I don't see them. There are no facilities that the church are putting up for these men to train, for these men and women to be in shape. Too many black people that are fat, out of shape, and they're fat, out of shape, sloppy because they're stressed. I don't see the church doing anything to help solve this problem. Black people are politically confused. We don't know we don't know how the institutions work. You see? Che Guevara, the revolutionary, he said in his book on guerrilla warfare, he said that a people must exhaust all peaceful means of He said that a people must exhaust all peaceful means of challenging their oppressor before resulting to violence. And the issue is that black people have not collectively, we have not even begun to exhaust all of our options, all of our means of challenging our oppressors, white people, because we don't know how, because we are stupid. I do not see the church taking action, taking active steps in solving this problem. Because when listening to the commentary of black people about the results of this last election, I was able to conclude within about, a day or so. Okay, that black people are still very confused as to how political power works in this so-called democracy. I don't see the black church taking any kind of steps to for rectifying this problem. The black church is just a place for you to go and hear some feel-good speech or speeches about God, and to hear some good singing, and to eat, and to just talk about a whole bunch of nothing. I don't see the black church aggressively seeking out entrepreneurs and funding their projects to provide employment for black people. I do not see this, because they are not doing it. The black church, the leaders of the black church, either they are confused and or they are cowards. And black people collectively have acted as cowards. Myself included in that. I am black. This is not your host talking down on you. This is your host talking to you. And this is your host being honest. You see, it took me years to understand my problem. Before understanding my problem, I did not know what I was doing. I was contributing to the problem. And even now that I understand my problem, and this is the ironic thing about racism, white supremacy, even though I understand my problem, I am still contributing to my problem. That's the ironic thing about black people like to call each other names, Uncle Toms. Well, if we are being accurate, and remember, this website, this podcast, it's all about accuracy. It's all about being precise. All black people are Uncle Toms. What is an Uncle Tom? An Uncle Tom is just simply a person that perpetuates racism, white supremacy. Now, there are different degrees to which people perpetuate racism, white supremacy, and some people perpetuate it so much that they're dangerous and that you should stay away from them, because they will undermine any kind of effort that a black person is undertaking to counter racism, white supremacy. But I don't care. I don't care what black person you name, Dr. Martin Luther King, or Lil Wayne. Black people perpetuate the system of racism, white supremacy, all of us, to some kind of extent, if you are surviving. You see, if you get out there and you pay your taxes, you are supporting the system. I'm not saying don't get out there and pay your taxes. I'm just saying it is what it is. Because if you don't pay your taxes, you're going to get one of these. And then shortly after that, the handcuffs are going to go on. Then the mother will start crying, or the father will start crying. Then your wife will start crying, or your husband will start crying. You are going to jail. Black people and black people will not be able to help you. Not in 2016. Black people can't do anything but just ask white people. This is our predicament, folks. This is our predicament. Yeah, so you go to work every day, you are perpetuating racism. Most of you are working for white people. Most of you are accepting slave wages to the benefit of white people. But hey, I'm not telling you not to work. I am just saying that by surviving, you are perpetuating the system. You see what kind of a hole we're in? So the only thing that you can do is that you can undermine the system more than you support it. That's all you can do. Hell, you go shopping to buy clothes, you pay sales tax. Can't help it. That perpetuates the system. The system needs to be completely destroyed, period, because it is built on mistreatment. It's built on dividing people up. It's built on allowing one group of people, white people, to hoard all the resources. They have all the tools to get all the resources collectively, while you, nigga, get crumbs. The system by default is inherently is one built of mistreatment. Period. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to get into today's topic. And I'm going to reiterate what I've just spent 20 plus minutes going on a tirade about. But what you have to understand is, if you didn't hear anything else, white people is the problem, and any effort that you take individually to solve this problem better be within the context of that. White people is your problem. You are listening to The Barbershop here on CobrasInAction.org and the Black Talk Radio Network. Be back. Before a problem can be solved, it must be understood. And too many black people do not understand racism. Go to www.cobrasinaction.org today and learn more about racism and how we can solve this problem. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Cobra Number One, and you are listening to The Barbershop here on CobrasInAction.org. So we're talking about activism. What is activism? Activism is the action of using vigorous action to bring about social and or political change. It's important to note that all activism is not carried out by activists. Historically, the term activist has been used to describe a person who specializes in bringing about social and political change. And whether intended or not, a person who disregards the important activism carried about by those who are not considered activists. There are three different types of activism. Activism against mainstream policies, activism that produces new ways of social behavior in order to create alternatives to the dominant system, and revolutionary activism focusing on changing society and its major institutions. Who becomes an activist? Anyone who takes action to bring about political change and social change may be characterized as an activist. Anyone willing to research existing efforts to counter a problem can be considered an activist. Anyone willing to educate themselves on what activism is the kind of person that becomes an activist. Now, an obvious event where activism played a significant role was the signing of the civil rights legislation in 1964. Another example would be the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or START. Another event in history where activism played an instrumental role. This was the bilateral treaty signed by the Soviet Union and the United States that limited strategic offensive arms. Nuclear weapons, folks. Again, that wouldn't have happened without activism. All right. The Supreme Court's ruling requiring states to recognize same-sex marriage last year was the result of years and years of activism. So we're talking about activism, and we're talking about racism, white supremacy. We're talking about activism within the context of racism, white supremacy. So let's put the spotlight now on black activists. Let's see what we've done and how fruitful we've been at solving our problem. I'm sure all of you are familiar with Harriet Tubman. Very quickly, she made use of the Underground Railroad, a series of networks of people sympathetic to the cause of freeing slaves, who provided refuge to slave fugitives en route to the North seeking freedom, led by Harriet Tubman. Angela Davis emerged as a prominent leader of the Communist Party, USA, in the 1960s, and had close relations with the Black Panther Party. She has worked for prisoner rights and taught at the University of California, St. Cruz, where she also was the director of the Feminist Studies Department. Al Sharpton, another black activist, came to prominence in the 80s as an advocate of Tawana Brawley, a black woman who accused 6 white men, some police officers, of raping her. Since President Obama's time in the White House, Sharpton has been known as the president's go-to black leader. He is seen as a man who is willing to tell it like it is. The Black Panther Party was founded by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. The original purpose of the group was to patrol African American neighborhoods to protect residents from the acts of police brutality. Dr. Martin Luther King was the leader of the 1960s civil rights movement that resulted in the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. He is often cited by many Americans as being the single most important person in the improvement of race relations in the country. And then we have Marc Lamont Hill. In 2001, Marc Lamont Hill, professor and popular television political commentator, started a literacy project through the use of hip-hop to increase school engagement and reading skills amongst high school students. He has also taught adult literacy classes and worked with the ACLU on drug policy. So I've just named just a few, a very, 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 very small few of black people who fit the definition of activist. So we are going to come back later and we're going to discuss their results and how effective they have been in solving our problem. Because see, my point is that as black people, we put so much on a black leader. Oh, we need a black leader. Oh, we need someone to lead us to the promised land. And I think that's a bunch of crap. I think that's just another sign of us being cowards and lazy and not not willing to take on the responsibility of really solving this problem. But we'll get back to that in a second. So let's talk about each of these individuals' solution to solving our problem. Harriet Tubman took action to directly solve her problem. White people. She was a slave. She didn't wish to remain a slave, so she escaped. She didn't ask to be freed. She didn't sing beautiful songs on Sunday and try to make white people feel her pain. She did what she had to do. She knew other slaves longed for their freedom, so she made numerous trips back to the South after she secured her freedom to assist other black people in their liberation. Oh, and by the way, there was no turning back. So if all of a sudden you became cowardly and got that, oh, I need to turn back, oh, she would have taken her pistol out and she would have put you out of your misery. She would have blown your brains out. Rightfully so. Now, Angela Davis. What has been her solution to solving this problem? Like many black activists, she has used the written word to try and solve her problem. She's written articles, books, and she's also started organizations as well. She has spent many years teaching in academia also. But like I said, she's worked with prisoners. She's worked with white people in trying to solve this problem. Al Sharpton, pretty much the same thing. He too has an organization and has used it to try to solve this problem. He's been an advocate for individuals that have been labeled voiceless and powerless. The Black Panthers. The Black Panthers recommended to black people to become educated on the right to bear arms and immersed themselves and their followers in socialist ideology. Now, focus in on that ideology, black people subscribing to this ideology or that ideology, okay, or that religion or that belief. Division amongst black people is not good. This is why I say it's important to be clear and precise. Your problem is white people. Racism, white supremacy. The only way to solve it is to counter them. Okay? All this other, oh, I'm socialist, or oh, I'm communist, or oh, I believe in I'm a black Hebrew. All that stuff is not going to solve your problem. That just keeps you separated amongst each other and not coming together to work towards a common cause. Don't be a nigga. Okay. And fall for this idea of dividing yourself up into different camps based on religion, based on ideology, based on paths forward in solving the problem. Black people dividing themselves up by sports teams, dividing themselves up by record labels. It's all the same thing. It's nigga stuff. It's stuff for people that really don't understand what's going on. People that are confused. People that are being tricked. I call it nigga stuff because that's what it is. Because I'm not calling you a nigga. I tell you this all the time. I don't call black people nigga, niggers. That word is not to be used as an endearing term. This is how white people view you. And see, they support you dividing yourselves up because it perpetuates the system. So it's very niggerish in the sense that you are contributing to a very, 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 very detrimental amount to the perpetuation of racism, white supremacy. Stop doing that. And you don't have to. You don't have to split yourself up to survive. Okay, it's unnecessary. And that's why it's niggerish. Don't be a nigga. Don't do it. Look to unite with black people if that black person that you're looking to unite with is on the same page, which is white people are the problem. Racism, white supremacy needs to be undermined. Period. Dr. King's solution was to apply social pressure to influence policy in the favor of black people. He did this primarily with marches, sit-ins, and boycotts. Marc Lamont Hill. Many of you know him. You see him on television. I think he teaches at Morehouse, like right now. He started an organization and essentially did community service type of work to try and solve this problem. He also uses media to advocate the perceived, emphasis on perceived, interests of black people. I'll stop there. You're listening to The Barbershop right here on CobrasInAction.org and the Black Talk Radio Network. Be back. Before a problem can be solved, it must be understood. And too many black people do not understand racism. Go to www.cobrasinaction.org today and learn more about racism and how we can solve this problem. Welcome back to the show. I am your host, Cobra number 1, RG Reed, and you are listening to The Barbershop here on CobrasInAction.org and the Black Talk Radio Network. So we're talking about activists and activism, black activists particularly. And now I want to, in closing out the show, I want to bring it home. Okay, I want to examine the achievements of these activists. And like I said before, this is not an all-inclusive list by any means. Notice I didn't mention Marcus Garvey. Clearly, we're talking about activism and activists. Probably one of the better activists that we've had, if not the best, given what he was able to do, how he was able to organize in such a small amount of time. But this show is not focusing on propping up. The show is not meant to be something to pat ourselves on the back. Oh, look at what the Black Panthers did. Oh, how great they were. Look at what Marcus Garvey did. How great he was. No, this is not what this show is about. And you will see why in a few minutes. So we're talking about the accomplishments of activists. Harriet Tubman freed herself. We're talking about the accomplishments. Harriet Tubman freed herself and hundreds of other slaves. It is estimated that she freed some 300 slaves. Dr. Martin Luther King put enormous amounts of pressure on American society to legally recognize black people as equal and entitled to civil rights. Although in practice, black people have never been and still are not considered equal. I think it's important to note that. Even the Black Panthers provided a breakfast program for inner city children. But when you look at the collective efforts of black activists, black people as a whole saw the problem of white supremacy, one has to honestly conclude that our collective effort has been an abysmal one. Here's why. Because black people, our activists, have engaged in efforts in activities, I should say, that just don't work. Getting in front of television cameras will not end racism, white supremacy. You know, having a show on MSNBC will not end racism, white supremacy. Working with white people on feeding some little miserable black children or to try to help some miserable niggas learn how to read Shakespeare, to use hip hop to encourage niggas to read Shakespeare with white people's money. This will not end racism, white supremacy. Okay? Going to white organizations and asking for money. Oh, please help us, poor, wretched black people. That is not going to end racism, white supremacy. You see, this is why it's so important to understand the problem. There can be no working, no depending on white people. Working with white people, no depending on white people. White people, stop being white in thought, speech, and action. That's all you have to do to end racism, white supremacy. I suspect there are no white people that want to do that because the problem is still here. You see, this is us being honest now. Now, I just named some black activists, some very, very, very prominent black activists from across the timeline. I'm talking from the 19th century, 20th century, and 21st century. So we've gone across the timeline board here. And what I'm saying is that these people have put in enormous amounts of time and effort in trying to solve this problem. But when you look at the results have been and still are abysmal. This problem has not been solved, and this problem has gotten worse. It's gotten to the point now to where most black people, let me say that again. Most black people, number one, they don't understand what the problem is. And number two, they don't even understand that there is a problem. That's how bad it's gotten. And that's how clever white people have become. It's called refinement. Go back in the archives. I've done 2 shows now, I believe, just talking about refinement and what keeps black people so damn confused. Now, I'm talking about activists, what hasn't worked. You see, and make no mistake, this is not me pointing my finger at these people, because too many black people point fingers and criticize black people. This is not correct, because someone needs to ask, what are you doing? You don't point your fingers at black people who are trying to solve this problem and criticize. You get your ass out there and you do something. And let me account for myself. What am I doing? Well, I understand, in my opinion, black people do not understand the problem. So I put together a website. I do these podcasts to try to articulate precisely what it is, what the problem is. Racism, white supremacy. That's my contribution. If I were to just tell you right here what my contribution is right now, as I'm speaking, my contribution is putting out information, doing podcasts to articulate precisely what the problem is in so many ways. And also to offer solutions on how to solve the problem. Haven't gotten so much into the solutions area yet, because I'm doing a meticulous effort in articulating the problem. And I'm going very slowly because I have to, in my mind, I have to Not only do I have to state the problem, but the why. Why is what I am saying accurate? And that is what is taking so much time. I calculate that I would probably do about 30 podcasts on just explaining the why of my position, which is that white people is the problem. Racism, white supremacy is your problem. And I have to explain that in so many ways so that there can be no more questions as to why I'm saying that. All right. But that's my contribution. I'm doing something. And then once I'm done with these podcasts, I will go into other areas and do other things. But the point is that you have to directly do something to solve the problem. And I imagine that my next step is I'm going to focus on specifics as to what each of you can be doing. Everybody, because everybody can participate in solving this problem. I do not believe in black leaders. I think you understand that by now. I don't believe in black leaders. I'm not looking for some Jesus to come back, Moses to come lead us to the promised land. Take the black little children to Israel. Take us to the Holy Land. I'm not looking for any of that. I don't believe in that. That's an excuse to do nothing. Each one of you need to be playing your part in solving this problem. At some point very soon, I will be telling you exactly what each one of you can do. No leaders, no leader of the pack, none of that. I don't believe in top-down leadership. I believe in the more traditional African way of leadership, communal leadership. Anyone can be a leader with a mind and an ability to think. And everyone needs to be a leader. Take on the responsibility. It's not fair to put the burden of leadership on on just one person. And that's what black people have been doing. And that is essentially what I'm saying about black activists and the whole concept of activism. It's an excuse to label someone, oh, that's the person that's going to solve our problem. He is an activist. She is an activist. They are activists. So they're separate from me. They're acting for me. So I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to go home, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, and all my problems will be solved. White people will love me. They will love my songs. Okay. They will stop mistreating me and everything will be fine. Because my black leaders are going to take care of my problem. No, that's disgusting. All that is that you just pushing the burden on one individual. It's unfair. It's unfair to that individual. It's unfair to his or her family. And you know what? It's you not taking responsibility and doing your part. It makes me sick. So let me be very clear. I'm not sitting here crapping on these attempted. How can I say it? I'm not sitting here, being critical of these attempted problem solvers and their efforts. I congratulate them on attempting to do anything because, many black activists have died trying to do something constructive for black people. What I'm saying is that we need to stop the concept of activists and activism. And it needs to be a more shared effort. Everyone needs to participate. Or no one does anything at all. And then we just simply fade away as a people. That is possible. But to put the burden of our problem on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people or on some group, it really shows that we're not serious at really solving the problem. And one more thing, I'll say this in terms of what needs to be done to solve this problem. I will say this. Dr. John Henrik Clarke black historian, father of black history. Many people would consider him to be kind of like a father of African history, I should say. Well-respected elder. He's passed on now, but Dr. John Henrik Clarke said that you don't ask for that which was taken from you. You see, so, when some thief comes into your house and they take your stuff and they get down, they run away, they're able to get away, and you chase after them, and then both of you all run until you're both tired and exhausted. And then he or she stops, and then you stop. Now what? You don't sit there and ask for your stuff back. Oh, please, give me my stuff. It's not yours, it's mine, it's not right. God is not on your side if you don't give me back my stuff. You don't sing songs. You don't try to appeal to the thief's sympathy. None of that. He or she took your stuff. You take it back. And that's essentially what we're saying. Your freedom was taken from you. Let me say it again. Your freedom was taken from you. All right? It is just fundamentally wrong to ask for it back. This is what Dr. John Henrik Clarke said. By the way, I agree 100%. You don't ask for white people, oh, can we march? Oh, can we protest on this day? Oh, can we can we get a raise in minimum wage and our slave wages? You don't ask white people for that. White people took away your ability to live your life in a just manner, because white people are not just. They're humans. They are to be treated as human beings. They're not devils. They're not aliens. But they also are not just. These people, they exclude. They don't mind living in a society where people do not have enough to survive. They just chalk it up to, oh, well, that person must have been a loser. Well, you have winners and losers in society, and that's how it works. See, this is how white people think. So, and you know what? And it's a fair way of thinking, in the sense that it's an option. It's an option in terms of a way in which a people can think. It is an option. And white people collectively have chosen the option of thinking that it is credible to exclude, thinking that it is credible to hoard all the resources that one can. White people have collectively chosen these ideas to make up their principles and their values. Okay, so they've chosen these things. So now what do? White people, you have been mistreated for their enjoyment, for their pleasure, for their gain. They don't care. This is who they are. So what are you going to do about it? In closing, I want to encourage, stop singing, stop dancing, stop praying, oh God, deliver us to the promised land, because this is a waste of time. God has given us everything we need to solve our problem. And to do that, to, go to some building somewhere and think that dancing and jumping and shouting and praying and all that is going to solve your problem when you've been given the tools to solve your problem. This is just kind of an insult to the concept of God. God is in everything. God is even in white people, believe it or not. And so again, what does that tell you about God and what you need to be doing? God has done everything. That's it. Now, if you put the work in, and when collectively we get to those points where, we need something out of this world to get us over whatever barrier that may be presented to us at that time, that's when God steps in. But guess what? You have to do the work to get there. No one is going to help you. God has already helped. God has given us an ability to think and an ability to act. He's given us arms, legs. Hopefully I didn't say he. I don't like to personalize God. God is God. God is in everything. God has given us an ability to shoot, an ability to be violent if need be. But the most important thing, God has given us an ability to think and to take action. All right, that's the end of the show. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it constructive. Please visit cobrasinaction.org and please donate, folks. Also, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Instagram. Just go to the social media section at the bottom of our website on cobrasinaction.org. Last but not least, once again, please donate. But also, December 25th, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be doing 2 shows, one on religion and one on music and the system of racism, white supremacy. Join me this Christmas, get your Christmas breakfast on, all that. But then come on to your computer and let's talk about this problem, racism. It does not sleep. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week, ongoing, all over the planet. See, all over the globe, racism is being practiced. It's not like it's being practiced at this spot, and then you go 50 kilometers up here and 20 kilometers to the west, and there's no racism being practiced there. You can go there and escape racism. That ain't happening. So the practice of racism, white supremacy does not stop. They don't take breaks. Neither should we. All right. So make sure you tune in December 25th to the special Christmas broadcast. We're going to be talking about racism and articulating it, and maybe even some discussion on how to counter it. So once again, folks, you can catch the show every Wednesday and Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. here on the Black Talk Radio Network, and archives of the show are available on www.cobrasinaction.org. This is RG Reed signing off. Until next time, peace.